important is having a vision, a personal vision and a vision for the company in today's world for you, Mike?
So one of the great things about working with Mille Lacs Corporate Ventures and what we've done over the last 8 or 9 years is really to refine that and really make sure everybody understands the why of what we do. And we serve, as a leader, I serve my associates. As a company, we serve the Mille Lacs Band. Our main focus is to support the Mille Lacs Band in the communities that we work in. We have, when I talk about values, so you can't see it, it's kind of worn out, but on my wrist here, I actually have our values. We make our decisions with these as the pillars to making decisions. If we're ever lost and don't have the right answer or contemplating two different things, we can always go back to our values and say, okay, is this meeting what?
Part of your career was in food and beverage. And I read somewhere food, beverage, and innovation, which to me, you're a master chef, but you corrected me. You're an expert chef, right?
I like to say I'm the head busboy, but executive chef, any of those things work.
So, your whole experience with cooking, etc. How would you relate cooking experience, food and beverage, with leadership per se?
Well, I think it's interesting. I oftentimes talk about the difference between being a cook or a chef and being a baker. Being a baker is a science. If you're doing bakery, it has to be exact. You have to do everything according to the recipe, because if you don't, you're going to have some wild results. I have horror stories of bread blowing up in the oven, batters blowing up in the coolers. That's science in bakery. But cooking is an art, and you can add a little bit of this, take a little bit of that away. You go with your feeling, you go with what you like. And I think leadership is much the same. You can't address or talk or lead one team the same way you lead another, or individual one way as you lead another. It's all about the art of leadership versus the science or the following the recipe of what the book says leadership is.
The great author and leadership speaker, Ken Blanchard, says that if I could only use one management tool for the rest of my life, it would be catch people doing things right. Now, how have you applied this in your career as a leader?
It's interesting. Ken Blanchard is somebody our corporation and me personally absolutely love. If there's a Mount Rushmore of leaders or of people that have had influence on us, he would definitely be one of the people on that Mount Rushmore. And catch people doing something right is a philosophy that we've had for many, many years, and it's something that I've tried to ensure that I was doing since I became a supervisor 35 years ago. I always felt great when somebody told me I was doing a good job. Recognizing effort is as important as recognizing accomplishment in my mind.
What are the mistakes that you have seen that really stand in the way of emerging leaders to succeed?
I think one of the things that one tool I try to give to leaders as they're developing is for them to not feel like they have to do it the way I would do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for, as a leader, I'm not looking for a bunch of mics running with me. I'm actually looking for people with different ideas and different thought process, different optics on what's happening, and to bring those up to the table confidently and share their vision and what they see. When I sit down with leaders as they're getting prepared for interviews, one of the things I tell them is sell yourself. Don't sell them on what you think they want to hear. Sell them on what you can bring to the table.
I love that. So it's really about authenticity. Be the best version of yourself. What are the main innovation processes that you've had to implement to get the casino happening in this new norm?
We knew we wouldn't have the associate levels that we had, the amount of associates that we had. Mm-hmm. We also knew that we had to be more flexible and give our frontline teams the ability to be more open to doing more things. So we actually created ambassador positions across all of our business lanes. So in our gaming space, our goal is for anybody that's in that gaming space to be able to do anything. In our hospitality space, very, very similar. So If I have a server that was pre-COVID worked in one restaurant, that's what they did. They were a Wynn Steakhouse server. Now you are a Grand Casino server. Actually, you're a Grand Casino ambassador, and you can work in any of the positions that fall in hospitality. And our next level is actually to take our associates once they've mastered all those spaces as an ambassador in a business lane like hospitality, and to give them the tools to be able to be an ambassador in, say, marketing or one of the other business lanes. So we're really working on developing that from that standpoint. The other thing that we've done coming out of COVID was the focus on using technology and being better operators, working smarter, not harder.
What do you have in your office right now that really inspires you to have a good day?
So the one thing that's sitting on the corner of one of my shelves is my SERVE award, and that's so we have the acronym SERVE within our leadership culture, and it's support, engage, reinvest, value, and empower. So SERVE, it's an award given to leaders within our organization by associates. It's a recognition from the teams that you work with and lead.
And it really aligns to your servant leadership philosophy as well, right?
Absolutely.
Knowing what you do today, what advice would you give to the 20-year-old Mike Engel?
I learned this probably 10 years ago, and I think it's actually something I've talked to all my children about. 2 years, 1 month. Listen twice as much as you talk.
And the older we get, the more we realize how important that is, right?
Absolutely. And the other thought process within listening, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. It's so easy for us to come up to have an answer versus truly trying to understand what somebody's talking to you about.
So if I had to go into your home, what would I find as maybe next to your bedside table as your latest read or on your Kindle?
Right now, I got 2 things that we're reading. Ray Dalio's Principles. It's something that we invested in from a company standpoint. I have some new leaders on my team, and the thing that we're working through is the 4 disciplines of execution, and really understanding the importance of having one focus versus one wildly important goal versus having 6 or 7 things that you're just not going to get done.
Wonderful. And that's also where the 1-minute manager, Ken Blanchard, comes from, right?
Sure, absolutely. That's part of the 1-minute manager is actually in our leadership library, and it's something that our developing leaders go through a couple different trainings that reference that.
If you were to speak at a TED Talk, what would you speak on?
The importance of understanding how you empower and inspire people in everything you do. Integrity, making sure you walk the walk. That's where I think I make a mark with my team.
You being such a foodie and love food and cooking is if your leadership style had to be related to a dish, what would it be? What would that be?
I think a good one would be jambalaya. It's a mixture of a lot of different parts that individually have uniqueness. So the proteins, the chicken, the sausage, the shrimp individually have their own parts. The vegetables, the onions, the peppers, the rice, they all have their unique stuff. But when you put it together, it brings out something completely different. It's something that is got a little spice to it, got some warmth to it, makes you feel good.
I'm very excited to be speaking at the MLCB Leadership Conference. The focus next year is really on servant leadership. And I know this is a topic very close to your heart, Mike.
Principles in our servant leadership philosophy really dictates that all we're doing is we're putting them up a fence and we're telling them go explore, make a difference with each and every guest, and stay within these boundaries. There's places we want them to keep away from to keep them out of trouble, but we don't want to tell them how to do the right thing for the guests.
Tell me a little bit about, very briefly, about Team Frozen Concoctions.
Oh, Team Frozen Concoctions.
Yeah.
Okay, so Team Frozen Concoctions is the GrandCasino Mille Lacs food and beverage polar plunge team. We actually do a plunge into Lake Mille Lacs every year. We've been doing this for, I think this year will be our 9th year at Mille Lacs, where we jump into a frozen lake, cut a hole in a perfectly good frozen lake, and jump in to raise money for Special Olympics Minnesota.
You do so much, not only within gaming, but within your community. And it's really been a pleasure to speak to you today, Mike. And thank you for being on our Access for Success series.
Haiti, I appreciate you and I appreciate everything you do. We, unfortunately, with COVID, we weren't able to get together this past spring for the leadership conference, but I'm looking forward to this coming spring. So looking forward to seeing you soon.
I can't wait to be there and maybe taste some of your jambalaya.
There we go.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Be well, everyone.
You make me